Trust the Profits is proud to be sponsored by Game of Silks. Go to silks.io to get in the game. Real ownership, real races, real rewards.
Sure bad coffee.
It's Kentucky Derby week, so here is a special Kentucky Derby edition of the Pedigree Puzzle. So it is Kentucky Derby 150, and the Kentucky Derby needs no introduction. It's a 1.25 miles at Churchill Downs. It'll go as the 12th of 14 races on Saturday's card, with a post time of 6:57 Eastern. The race has a purse of $5 million, which means $55,000 is up for grabs in Game of Silks. You can take a look at the body of the field here with their Game of Silks owners. And as per usual with the Pedigree Puzzle, we're going to go horse by horse through the field, talk past performances and pedigree, and then at the end, I'll give my overall thoughts on the race. So since we have a lot of horses to get through, let's go ahead and just get started. And we're going to start with Doruk. He was the Remsen and Fountain of Youth winner, and last time out in the Bluegrass, he finished 4th. The rating experiment in there definitely failed, so he's going to be going to the front this time, and especially with that rail draw, he has no choice but to go. He had a quick work, 46-3 on the 27th of April over the track. And looks like he's coming into the race in good form. The big question I have with him is he's been very bad at changing leads in a timely manner. And that's not the kind of thing you can really get away with in the Kentucky Derby. But at 20-1, this is a horse that I think merits a little bit of consideration. I think he could stick around for a piece. Taking a look at his pedigree, we all know this is the full brother to Mage. His dam Puka has had 3 stakes horses and 3 foals. She herself was a stakes winner and a half to grade 1 winner Fittington's Wake, who was a graded stakes winner at up to 12 furlongs. Good Magic was second in the Derby. And Big Brown, Dornuk's dam sire, was a Kentucky Derby winner himself. So distance isn't really a question here. The average winning distance of Good Magic's offspring is 7.28 furlongs. Moving on to Sierra Leone. This is the Risen Star and Bluegrass winner, put up a nice number in that Bluegrass Stakes last time out. And he's been perfect in 2 for 2 since adding blinkers in the Risen Star. Tyler Gaffleone stays aboard here for the Derby. And I really like his steadily improving buyers. I have the Brisnet past performances up because those are available for free. But his buyer figures in his career progression has gone 71, 91, 95, 98. And in the Derby, that's one of my favorite handicapping angles in the Derby is I want a horse that is on the improve. I don't want a horse that peaked 2 races back. I don't want a horse that's up and down necessarily. I want a horse who's just consistently improving those speed figures. Now, I do question here what kind of trip he's going to get with that inside post. He's going to kind of have the door shut on him probably from there. He doesn't have a lot of speed out of the gate. So Tyler's really going to have to work hard to work out a trip for this horse. I think ideally he ends up outside of horses because I don't think he's the type of horse that can start and stop very easily. But if he can work out a trip, he's absolutely a very logical win contender. Taking a look at his pedigree, he's a son of Gunrunner out of the grade 1 winning Alcibiades winner, Heavenly Love. She's a daughter of Malibu Moon, and that Gunrunner Malibu Moon cross has been very good. It's got 4 stakes winners and just 9 starters, including fellow grade 1 winner Locked, who won the Breeders' Futurity. So this is a horse who is bred to be a very good horse. Obviously, Gunrunner was a grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs. He's the sire of Preakness winner Early Voting. And his offspring's average winning distance is 7.4 furlongs. So I'm not worried about the distance for Sierra Leone. Mystic Dan, he was a blowout winner of the Southwest Stakes on a sloppy track. So a wet track definitely doesn't hurt his chances. Had a little bit of trouble in the Arkansas Derby where he finished 3rd. But the big question for me with this horse is the distance. He's clearly a very talented racehorse. He's a very good horse, but can he get the distance? I mean, you look at his pedigree, he's by Golden Sense. Golden Sense was 17th in the 2013 Derby. He was a 2-time Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner. He wanted nothing to do with a 1.25 miles. Mystic Dan is the first foal from his dam, who was a winner at up to 8.5 furlongs. She was by Traverse winner Colonel John, so there is some stamina on the bottom here. His second dam is by Siphon, who is a multiple grade 1 winner of races like the Hollywood Gold Cup and Santa Anita Handicap. So there's stamina on the bottom, but Golden Sense average winning distance for his offspring is 6.5 furlongs. And the Derby is quite a bit further than that. And I'm not confident that the bottom of this pedigree really makes up for Golden Sense being on top. Number 4 will be Catching Freedom. He was the winner of the Louisiana Derby and the Smarty Jones Stakes. He's already a winner at a mile and 3/16 in that Louisiana Derby, so that's a great sign as far as the distance is concerned. Only an extra 16th of a mile that he has to find. And again, this is another horse with steadily improving buyers. Went from 72 on debut to a 77, an 87, a 92, and then a 97 in the Louisiana Derby. So I like that about him a lot. Question here is, again, sort of like Sierra Leone. This is a horse who wants to come from behind. He has shown, unlike Sierra Leone, like in that Smarty Jones, he wasn't as far off the pace, even though he was far back in the field, 8th of 9 early. He was less than 5 lengths off the pace. So I think that he'll get a little bit more of a mid-pack trip, whereas I expect Sierra Leone to be kind of coming from way back. And at that 4 post, he's also still got to deal with that trouble of, 16 horses coming over on him. So that's a little bit of a concern. But I do think that this horse is a major player and one that you really have to consider as you're handicapping this race. Looking at his pedigree, he's a son of Constitution out of Catch My Drift. He's, Constitution's already the sire of a 1.25 mile Grade 1 winner, Tis the Law, who won the Belmont at a 1.25 mile, as well as the Traverse. And Constitution's also the sire of horses like Breakpoint, who won the 1.75 mile San Juan Capistrano in the United States. His dam is a stakes winner by Pioneer of the Nile, who already has 2 other stakes runners from her foals to race. She's, like I said, by Pioneer of the Nile, who's a son of Belmont Stakes winner Empire Maker, and obviously is the sire of Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh. And Constitution's average winning distance for his offspring is 7.14 furlongs. Catalytic, this is the Florida Derby runner-up. That was his first time going 2 turns, and if you watched my video for that race, I was a little concerned about him getting the distance there. And though he did, he ran second, he got the distance, I'm still not convinced that he's going to improve with more distance. He does get Jose Ortiz aboard for the first time for the Derby. And this is another horse who is improving, but is he good enough is really the big question here. And I lean toward thinking no. He is very well bred, though. Though Catalina Cruiser has been off to a very slow start as a sire, he has yet to get a stakes winner, and I don't think Catalytic's going to give it to him in the Kentucky Derby. But Catalina Cruiser was basically a miler. He never raced past a mile and 16th, although he was by Belmont Stakes winner Union Rags and was out of a mine shaft mare, so he was bred to go further, but never really did. And his offspring's average winning distance to date is 6.79 furlongs. Catalytic does have some stamina on the bottom, though, and tons of quality. His dam sire Distorted Humor is obviously the sire of Kentucky Derby winner Funny Side. His third dam, She's a Winner, is the dam of 2006 Kentucky Derby runner-up Bluegrass Cat. And she's the dam, a foal to the dam of Kentucky Derby winner Super Saver. So there is Kentucky Derby precedent in the pedigree. But one show only, Catalytic's dam, has not been so good. She's had 3 other starters. Only one of them have won. Her offspring are combined 0 for 31 at Arado Ground, although they have placed 15 times in those races. So I think it's less a lack of stamina and more just a lack of ability that's caused that over 31 stat there. But even so, I don't think Catalytic is going to get the job done in the Derby. Jess Steel is number 6, and this is a horse who basically, he always runs his race, and he's put up some really good efforts at big prices. He was a big runner-up to Muth in Arkansas last time out at 32-1, and a repeat of that effort would make him a bit of a contender here, you'd have to think. If you think that Muth would have been a horse you had an interest in playing here if he had been allowed in, then you have to at least give this horse a long look. I think that he is a horse who could sit a tactical trip, which is a great thing in the Kentucky Derby. And you have to respect the Hall of Famer Dwayne Lucas, although also it's worth noting that Dwayne Lucas is more than willing to take a shot in races like this. And young jockey Keith Asmussen getting his first Kentucky Derby starter with Jess Steel. And the horse has also done well at Churchill Downs. His 1 stakes win in the Ed Brown did come over this track, and he was 3rd behind Otto the Conqueror and Honor Marie in a allowance optional claimer over the Churchill Downs surface. Looking at his pedigree, I do have a little bit of a question about the distance here. I'm not convinced that he doesn't want the distance, but I'm not convinced that 10 furlongs is really going to be his best game. His dam, Irish Lights, was a Grade 1 winner in Australia at a mile. She's a daughter of the brilliant sprinter Fastnet Rock. Fastnet Rock, while more of a sprinter type, miler type influence, definitely leans speed over stamina. He is the dam sire of Grade 1 winners going around a ground. Horses like warm heart. So with balance from the top, he can get a horse to go a little bit longer. And you'd have to think that Justify provides that. He's a Triple Crown winner, of course. He's a sire of Grade 1 winner Aspen Grove at 10 furlongs in the Belmont Oaks, so he can sire a router. But then you see this inbreeding 4x3 to Hennessy, that being in the 4th generation at the top half of the pedigree and the 3rd on the bottom half of the pedigree. And Hennessy was a Grade 1 winning juvenile who, again, leans toward being a little bit more of a sprinter miler influence. Justify's average winning distance for his offspring is 7.3 furlongs, so 2 turns seems like a good fit for him, and clearly it is. But is that extra 1/8 of a mile in the Kentucky Derby going to catch up to him? That's something I do tend to question a little bit here with Jess Steel. Next is Honor Marie. This is another horse who just consistently comes with a run in basically every race, and he's definitely shaping up to be kind of the wise guy horse in this field at 20-1 on the morning line. But this is another horse that I really have concerns about getting a good trip. He, like Sierra Leone, is going to be way far back. And unlike Sierra Leone, I'm not sure that Honor Marie is quite as talented at this point in his career as a horse like Sierra Leone. So I do have some concerns there. But if you like him, I certainly would never talk you off him. And to me, though, this looks like a horse who is going to be a really good horse for a race like the Travers a little later in the year with a little bit of a smaller field where he can better put to use that big closing kick that he has. Looking at his pedigree, he's a son of Honor Code who only tried 1.25 miles once. He was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Classic behind American Pharaoh, but there's no reason to think he didn't get the distance that day. American Pharaoh and FNX ran 1-2 all the way around, and Honor Code was the only horse to make up ground in that race at all. He was a son of Belmont Stakes winner AP Indy and is the sire of Jockey Club Gold Cup winner Max Player. In 2020, Honor Code's Honor AP finished 4th in the Derby, so distance should be okay. From that perspective, his average winning distance is 7.24 furlongs. And Honor Marie's dam, Dame Marie, was a stakes place turf miler by Smart Strike. She's gotten 3 winners from as many to race, including Grade 2 Bourbon Stakes runner-up Abarta by Into Mischief. This AP Indy Smart Strike Cross is responsible for 5.7% stakes winners in 900 starters, including Hollywood Gold Cup winner First Dude. So no reason to think that 1.25 miles will be a problem. I just worry a little bit about the chaos of a 20-horse field and Honor Marie's ability to navigate that. Next is Just a Touch. This is a Bluegrass Stakes runner-up who was unraced at 2 and enters the Derby with just 3 starts, just like his sire Justify did. And we all know what happened with Justify. I like that this horse has tactical speed and is another one who is on an improving pattern as a lightly raced individual. And Brisnet has him ranked 1st in prime power. So this is a horse that definitely makes some sense and I think is going to be around that 10-1 morning line price, kind of get a little bit of play in here. This is another son of Justify. He's out of Grade 3 Comely Stakes winner Touching Beauty, a daughter of Tappet. So there's should be some stamina there. She's had 5 winners from 6 starters, which is a pretty good rate. Although not a whole lot of quality. Her first full, A Son of Unbridled Song, was 3rd in a listed stakes at Mountaineer going 4.5 furlongs. And prior to Just a Touch, that was her best runner. This horse does trace tail female to Icy Reply, who's a pretty nice mare, family of 9 stakes winners, but only one at greater than 8 furlongs. That was Slick Groom, who was a Grade 2 winner at 9 furlongs on the turf. So I don't think a distance is going to be a problem here for Just a Touch. And I think he's a horse you have to consider. Encino is scratched. He's out at least 30 days with a soft tissue injury. So wishing quick recovery and a full recovery for Encino, who looks like he should have a big future in the division. Next is T.O. Password. This horse is coming in with just 2 starts. Both of them are wins. In this year's Derby, the only 2 undefeated horses are the 2 Japanese contenders, which I think is interesting, as most years you have at least a few horses coming in with undefeated records on the line. And from what we've heard, this horse is pretty speedy, so maybe he'll be close to the front early from breaking mid-pack, but hard to really know what to expect from T.O. Password. I don't really see him getting it done in his 3rd start. His sire, Capano Ricky, was a Grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs in Japan in the Tokyo Daisho 10, and he was the 2017 JRA Best Dirt Horse. So dirt pedigree here for sure. His dam, T.O. Rachel, was a 3-time winner at up to 1,400 meters, which is about 7 furlongs. She's gotten 4 winners from 4 other foals, from 4 foals total, but none of the other 3 at greater than 1,500 meters. So not sure about that, but her sire King Kamehameha was a winner of the Japanese Derby at 1.5 miles. He's a leading sire and broodmare sire in Japan. So you would think that even though Tio Rachel's other foals haven't gone a route of ground, the fact that Tio Password debuted at 1.1 miles, both of his starts have been at that distance, that he'll be just fine with 1.25 miles. And the cross of Kapano Ricky's grandsire Sunday Silence over King Kamehameha has gotten Ushba Tesoro, obviously a grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs, who is also by a grandson of Sunday Silence and out of a King Kamehameha mare. The more highly regarded of the two Japanese contenders is Forever Young. He's undefeated in 5 starts, hasn't done anything wrong. The question here, though, is what has he beaten? He beat Bookham Dano by a head in the Saudi Derby. Heard that he didn't ship well into that race and he got the job done anyway. So maybe that was just him being able to overcome adversity. Not totally sure how great the field in the UAE Derby was either. Pandagate seems like a nice horse, but is he, the quality of the Kentucky Derby field? That's remains to be seen. But distance certainly shouldn't be an issue for Forever Young. For me, this is a horse who's a tough read. He's tough to say, no, he doesn't have a chance, but he's also tough to take with any kind of confidence, at least for me. Looking at his pedigree, this is another grandson of Sunday Silence, or another horse by a grandson of Sunday Silence. His sire, Real Steel, was a winner of the Dubai Turf and is a fool to Breeders' Cup Distaff winner Loves Only You. Real Steel was also second in the Grade 1 10-0 show at 10 furlongs, so distance shouldn't be an issue there. The cross of Real Steel's sire Deep Impact over mares carrying AP Indy has gotten 11 stakes winners in 202 starters, including Grade 1 winners like Gran Alegria, Shahryar, Al Ain, and Killer Ability, and 3 of those 4 have gotten Grade 1 wins at 10 furlongs or greater. His dam, Forever Darling, was a stakes winner in the Santa Ynez at 6.5 furlongs, and as you've probably heard by now, she is a half-sister to the dam of Sierra Leone, and she's produced 3 winners from 4 starters. So definitely plenty to like on pedigree about Forever Young. Now we go to Track Phantom. It's a super consistent runner. He always goes out there and he does what he does, and what he does is he goes to the front. I'm a little bit curious about the decision to add blinkers in the Kentucky Derby. I don't really tend to like equipment changes in big races like this, but maybe it'll make a difference. The big question with Track Phantom for me is whether he wants to go the distance. He was fading in the Louisiana Derby, and if you look at his pedigree, it's definitely not screaming 1.25 miles. Though his sire can get a router, he's got 4 Grade 1 winners at 10 furlongs. His dam Miss Sunset was a graded stakes winner at 7 furlongs by Into Mischief, and her only other starter is a sprinter by Curlin. So I'm not really sure that she's providing any stamina here to Quality Road, but Quality Road's average winning distance for his offspring is 7.44 furlongs. So 2 turns makes sense. I'm not sure that 10 furlongs really does, though. Next, we have West Saratoga, and what a cool horse and what a cool story this is. He was an $11,000 yearling. He's earned over 41 times his purchase price with that $460,000 over 10 starts. And it's great seeing small-time connections get a shot at this, but at the end of the day, it just looks like he's a bit slower than the best of the crop. He's a son of Exaggerator who stands for $5,000 in Louisiana, but he's bred on the same Curlin Uncle Mo cross as Muth, who was a son of Good Magic, another son of Curlin. Exaggerator hasn't gotten a stakes winner at greater than 9 furlongs, but his best runner to date is Skippy Longstocking, who was 3rd in the 2022 Belmont Stakes. And on the bottom, Uncle Mo is the sire of a Kentucky Derby winner and a Belmont Stakes winner. Plus, you have a little more stamina on the bottom from Candy Ride. So I don't think that 10 furlongs is really an issue with West Saratoga. It's more a matter of, can he get it fast enough to really make himself a competitor? Then we have Endlessly. This is a 3-time graded stakes winner, but never raced on dirt. And I don't like that after the Jeff Ruby, trainer Michael McCarthy pretty much said, no, we're not thinking Derby with this horse. He's a turf horse. So I'm a little bit worried about the fact that not only does he have to handle the dirt surface, but he doesn't even really have a race on paper that makes him competitive on his preferred surface. So if you're betting this horse, you're not only thinking, oh, he's going to handle the dirt, you're thinking he's going to move up on dirt. And as we'll see in the pedigree, I'm skeptical of that being the case. He's a son of Oscar Performance, who was a winner at 10 furlongs on turf, 2-time Grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs on turf as a 3-year-old. And his foals have done very well going a route of ground. And he can get a dirt horse. 4 of his 10 stakes winners have won stakes on traditional dirt. And even in this immediate family of Endlessly's dam is a half to the dam of stakes winner Active Fool, another son of Oscar Performance, whose stakes win came on turf, but was a 2-time allowance winner on dirt. However, Endlessly is going to have to not only handle the dirt, but improve on it, as I said. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen here. So that brings us next to domestic product, breaking from post 15, or it will be 14 with the scratch of Encino. He's the Tampa Bay Derby winner, and he hasn't raced since then, though. He did outfinish Fierceness in the Holy Bull, notably, and could sit a nice stalking to mid-pack trip. But again, this is another one who I really question the distance with. He's a son of Practical Joke, who was a winner of the Grade 1 Alan Jerkin Stakes winner. And though Practical Joke does have a Grade 1 winner in Chile at 10 furlongs, he hasn't gotten anything like that in the States. On the bottom, though, his dam is by Haskell Stakes winner Painter, who was second by a neck in the 2012 Belmont Stakes and is out of a full sister to two-time Breeders' Cup Classic winner Tisnow. So there's a little bit of hope there. But then you go back another generation on the female side, and again, you're looking at sprinters. The second dam Indian Legend was a stakes winner at 6 furlongs, and she was a daughter of Breeders' Cup sprint winner Cherokee Run. She's also the second dam of Kenda, who is a stakes winner going 6.5 furlongs down the turf at Santa Anita. And Practical Joke's average winning distance as a sire is just 6.42 furlongs. So I'm going to take a pass with domestic product in the Kentucky Derby. Grand Mo the First has put together 4 straight third place efforts in his last 4 starts, including in the Florida Derby behind Fierceness and Catalytic. He runs on anything. He's got wins on synthetic. He's stakes placed on the turf, and he's stakes placed on the dirt. But despite that versatility and consistency, this just doesn't seem like a horse who's good enough for the Kentucky Derby, at least at this stage in his career. He's a son of Uncle Mo out of the Giants Causeway mare Lily So Fair. And this cross has gotten the grade stakes winner Family Way, who was a winner at 12 furlongs. And Uncle Mo's Grade 1 winner Adare Manor is out of a mare by a son of Giants Causeway. So there's a nice pedigree here. And going back, his dam is a half-sister to Florida Derby winner Materiality, who was 6th in the 2015 Derby. And she's also half-sister to My Miss Sophia, who was 2nd in the 2014 Kentucky Oaks. So nice pedigree here for Grand Mo the First. Uncle Mo's average winning distance is 7.5 furlongs. Distance probably isn't a big issue. Just, again, quality, and I'm not sure that he's ready for this type of stage. And then we have the morning line favorite, Fierceness. This horse deserves to be the favorite. He's the horse to beat. If he runs his best race, he wins by daylight. There's no doubt about that. The big question is, can he handle adversity? And I do think that the outside draw helps here. I think that he'll be able to get a nice stalking trip just off the pace. I don't think he's going to go out there. He went wire to wire in his debut and in the Florida Derby and was right pressing the pace in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But I don't think this is a horse that needs to be on the lead. And if it turns out that he is, I think that could be a problem, because I think that horses like Doruk and Track Phantom are just going to be a little bit more eager to go early. But I think he can sit right off of their flank. Sitting, 3 wide wouldn't be too bad for him. And I think that's his ideal trip. I think he's most likely to have the lead turning for home. And he's the most likely winner of the race, straightforward. It's just a matter of if he can overcome, if anything goes wrong, if he gets a little bit bumped out of the gate, is he going to be able to deal with that? If a horse like the outside horse Epic Ride comes over in front of him, how is he going to handle something like that? So that's just the question mark. He's a horse again, like in his last race, you can't toss him, but you also can't trust him. Taking a look at his pedigree, he's a son of City of Light, who was 3rd in his only try at 10 furlongs, which was probably a touch too far, but is a sire of UAE Oaks winner Mimi Kikuchi at a mile and 3/16. Fierceness is the first foal out of his dam, a daughter of Traverse Stakes winner and Belmont runner-up Stay Thirsty, so there's some stamina there. And she's a half-sister to Memorial Outwork, who probably wanted to go a little bit shorter. He was 14th in the 2016 Derby. Second dam, Nona Mia, was a Grade 1 placed runner by Empire Maker, and she's a half-sister to Holy Bull winner Cairo Prince. So while the mares in the family themselves were a little bit better going shorter, the stallions here on the bottom indicate that there should be some stamina. And the Cross Equality Road over Bernardini has gotten 17.7% stakes winners in 34 starters, including very notably Grade 1 winner Dunbar Road, who was a winner of the Alabama Stakes at 10 furlongs. So I don't think that Fierceness, I don't think that 10 furlongs is necessarily going to be a benefit for him. But it's not a reason to toss him. He will handle it just as well as pretty much everyone else in the field. The average winning distance for City of Light Offspring is 7.02 furlongs. So again, not a horse that's quite as bred to go around a ground as the rest of the field, but I wouldn't toss him based on that by any means. 18 is Stronghold. This is the Santa Anita Derby winner, and he's kind of a little bit of a new shooter, although he did get a maiden win over Resilience and Track Phantom in that second start last October at Churchill Downs. The best thing about this horse, I think there's a couple of things that are really worth noting. He can handle adversity. He's shown that he can handle traffic. He's shown that he can win in a duel, and he's shown that he can deal with being a little bit bumped around. He's also fairly tactical, which he's going to need to be in order to really get position from that outside post. So I think this is a horse that's definitely worth consideration at the 20-1 morning line. He's beautifully bred, is Stronghold. His dam was a graded stakes winner in the Sorrento at age 2. She never won at greater than 6.5 furlongs, though, and she was out of a mare by Grade 1 winning sprinter Henny Hughes. So there's not as much stamina on the bottom here, but hopefully Ghost Zapper helps even that out a bit. He's the sire of Grade 1 winners like Shaman Ghost, Mystic Glide, and Aspen Road at 10 furlongs. And notably, the cross of Ghost Zapper over Distorted Humor has been ridiculously strong. 21% stakes winners in 52 starters is pretty much unheard of. As someone who looks at a lot of these crosses, you don't see numbers like that. And among those Grade 1 winners on the cross, there is Coaching Club American Oaks winner Guarana, who won that race at 12 furlongs. So this is a combination that can get a router, although there is some reason for concern with the bottom here on Stronghold's pedigree. But if he can get the distance, I think that he's a really talented horse and one that's definitely worth considering, especially at that 20-1 morning line. Another horse that I think is very much worth considering is Resilience. He improved adding blinkers last time at the Wood Memorial in a race that I thought was very impressive visually. Now, on Beyer speed figures, the race really doesn't quite stack up with the rest. He got just a 90 for that race. But according to Brisnet, this race, repeat of that race would make him very competitive based on the Brisnet speed figures. So there's that. And I think that his Risen Star was better than it looked. He ended up finishing 4th, couldn't really keep up late. But the thing that I really loved is you'll see when Catching Freedom comes in on him, he kind of came in on him twice. First time, he veered in sharply, and Resilience really did a great job of holding his space with that distraction. And then he, once he actually got bumped, he drifted in. But I thought that horse showed a lot of, for lack of a better word, resilience in that race. He showed that this isn't a horse that's going to get bullied. And I like that in the Wood Memorial, he was keen out of the gate with the blinkers on a little more than he had been in the past. But he was able to shut it off. And the being able to turn on and off is something that I really like to see in a Kentucky Derby contender. Question here is definitely, I think the outside post is a little bit more outside than he would want to be. He's going to have to tuck in somewhere. But I think this horse is a legitimate win contender in this race. Taking a look at his pedigree, he is a son of Into Mischief, who technically has 2 Kentucky Derby winners, although he's never had a son cross the finish line first on the first Saturday in May. His dam was a winner on both dirt and turf, longest distance win coming at 8.5 furlongs on the grass. And she was out of Tranquility Lake, a Grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs in the 2000 Yellow Ribbon and an excellent brood mare. She's the dam of 3 stakes winners by Stormcat, who was the great-grandsire of Into Mischief. She has Jalil, who was a winner of the 10 furlong Al Maktoum Challenge Round 3. She has Aftermarket, who was a Grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs in the Charles Whittingham Handicap, and was a graded stakes winner at up to 11 furlongs on turf. And then she also has Courageous Cat, who was a Grade 1 winning turf miler. So there is a ton of quality in this pedigree for sure. There's precedent for going 10 furlongs. And importantly, I think that a lot of these really good horses in the immediate family, they were later maturing types. And to me, Resilience just seems like the kind of horse who's really coming into his own right now. He's looked great in the mornings. And this is the horse that I'm very interested in playing in this year's Kentucky Derby. The last in the main body of the field is Society Man. He was second to Resilience at 106-1. And as I said, I do think Resilience is legit, but I am going to pass on Society Man. He might be getting good at the right time. Maybe that Wood Memorial, rather than being an anomalous race, was just proof of where he's at now. But I'm not convinced that that's the case. Looking at his pedigree, he's by Good Magic, and he traces to the mare Battle Creek Girl, who is a incredible broodmare. She's the dam of 6 stakes winners and has 25 stakes winners who trace to her in the tail female line. He's the second starter in the field, actually, out of a Colonel John mare, and his dam was stakes placed going 8 furlongs on the synthetic and was a winner at up to 9 furlongs, although her first full was a non-winner. And this cross of Curlin over Tisnow has really underperformed with just a single stakes winner in 58 starters. I'm not sure. I don't think that Society Man has much of a chance to change that in here. Epic Ride, who was drawn into the field with the defection of Encino, was third in the Bluegrass last time, and is a horse who I think adds a little bit of a thorn potentially in Fierceness' side in particular, since he's going to be to his outside. And he does have some early speed, but I'm not sure that this is a horse that we're going to be seeing sticking around later in the race. He's a son of Blame, who was, of course, a winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. His dam was last in her only start, which was a 5.5 furlong race at Presque Isle Downs, but she was by Gio Ponti, who was a Grade 1 winner, going 11 furlongs on the turf multiple times. She's the second starter. He's the second starter out of his dam, whose first full was a non-winner. Blame's average winning distance is 7.24 furlongs, so 2 turns makes sense, but I'm not sure that the Derby does here for Epic Ride. And then we'll take a quick look at the other also eligible Mugatu, who was he's a really cool horse. I actually talked about him on this channel back in June before he ever started, as a horse that I really liked at the OBS April sale, where he sold for $14,000. And, you know, he doesn't win a whole lot, but he sure does pick up checks. He's earned over 80 grand so far. Connections have been saying that they really think that the distance will help him if he gets into this race, but it's hard to make a case for this horse as a legitimate Kentucky Derby contender. Taking a quick look at his pedigree, he's a son of Blofeld, who is one of my favorite stallions in the country, just an absolute top stallion as far as the percentage of winners and stakes runners he gets, especially considering the lower relatively quality of mares that he gets. Mugatu's dam is by Belmont Stakes winner Union Rags. All 3 of her foals are by Blofeld, and all 3 of them are winners. And this is an extension of the Quality Road Dixie Union Cross that has gotten 6 stakes winners in 60 starters, including Grade 1 winners Klimt, Salty, and Caledonia Road. Blofeld's average winning distance is 6.85 furlongs. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see Mugatu making too much noise in the Kentucky Derby this year. But even just getting to the race with a horse like this, same with West Saratoga, is a big accomplishment. So take a quick look at the race as a whole. I do think that it should be a solid pace. You have horses like Doruk and Trek Phantom, who are probably going to be on the lead. Then possibly a horse like Tio Password could potentially be close. And then I think you have Fierceness and then Epic Ride kind of stalking to the outside. Now, Track Phantom adding blinkers is a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit of a concern for me. And it makes me wonder, I think the pace will be solid. I don't expect, if every horse runs the same type of race that they've been running, I don't think they're going to go crazy on the lead. But blinkers on Track Phantom make me wonder, are we going to have like a Palace Malice type situation where, if you'll remember, that horse had blinkers on in the Derby and just ran off with it. So I wonder if that's a potential outcome and a potential pace scenario where we have Track Phantom out front and then Dornock, Tio Password, Fierceness, Epic Ride kind of in behind him. So that is a possibility. And if that happens, then maybe, horses like Sierra Leone, Catching Freedom, Honor Marie have a better chance. I do think that horses that I'm kind of looking at as kind of the second flight, the stalker mid-pack types, horses like Just a Touch, Stronghold, Forever Young, and Resilience, who I think should all be sitting mid-pack or so. And I think if all goes well, if he doesn't encounter any trouble, as I said, I think Fierceness probably has the lead entering the stretch. And if he does, I'm not sure he gets caught. But if he does, I think I know who I want my money on. And I was really surprised with where I ended up here. And because my top pick is Resilience. He was so visually impressive to me in the Wood. And he obviously needs to be able to do that against better horses than Society Man. But I think he's improving at the right time. I think Bill Mott's going to have him primed for an absolutely monster effort. And though the 19 post, like I said, it's a little bit of a concern. He needs to tuck in and save ground mid-pack. And so I don't think he's the most likely winner. But at 20-1, I think this is the best value horse in the field. And I'm plenty happy to make him my top pick. Fierceness, of course, if he runs his best race, he airs. But like I said, he's tough to trust. And outside of those, there are a couple others that are a little bit tough to separate for me. Horses that I think are win contenders, despite I said, underneath here, because I can't say that a quarter of the field are my win contenders, even though they absolutely are. But for the sake of trying to narrow things down, I think Resilience and Fierceness are my top two, my A's, if you will. And then as B type horses, Just a Touch could get a nice trip from midfield. I love his tactical speed and his improvement. But as I'm, it's getting to a point where I might have to stop wondering this with horses like Justify, horses like Mage, but I just wonder if he's seasoned enough for the Kentucky Derby chaos. Sierra Leone has a world of talent. He's such a talented horse, but can he work out a trip? That 2-post kind of worries me a little bit for him. I think he's probably going to end up getting shuffled back and then having to get out wide. And I don't see him, like I said, being able to start and stop. And then Catching Freedom has similar hurdles to overcome, but he's been a little bit more tactical at times. So I think of the two, I'd actually slightly give an edge to Catching Freedom. But all three of those seem like win contenders to me. I just don't like them quite as much as Resilience and Fierceness. And some other horses worth noting include Doruk, who I think could hold on for third or fourth. We'll see him give a career best effort for sure in the Kentucky Derby. Stronghold is another one who's a very nice horse. Wouldn't surprise me. I really loved his tenacity in the Santa Anita Derby. And Forever Young scares me a little. I just don't know what to make of him. So I'm going to choose to leave him off. I might try and include him somewhere. But those are my selections presented to you by Sherbet Coffee. You can use the code TTP20 between now and the Belmont for 20% off your order. And every bag of Sherbet Coffee sold is $1 to equine charity. So thank you so much to Sherbet for sponsoring this video. And that's all I've got for you. Let me know what you think about the Kentucky Derby this year. Make sure you like this video and check to make sure that you're subscribed so you can check out all the other insightful and varied opinions that we have across the channel. And we also have Kentucky Derby contender profiles in case you want to take a look at an individual horse that you have in mind for the Derby. So until next time, best of luck with all of your Kentucky Derby wagers, and thanks for watching.